Outside the space station, two astronauts are performing repairs. Suddenly, they hear a strange sound that makes their ears ring as a shadow slowly approaches. At the same time, in the US, a group of teenagers is preparing to head to a lakeside house. Annie is introduced to Charlie, who has a strange attitude and cannot take his eyes off a picture of a girl on his phone. After several hours of travel, the group stops at a gas station, and Brendan wanders around to take a few pictures. Behind him, he notices a truck with small blood drops, forming the shape of a body. Suddenly, he is pushed over by a strange man, Hunter, who mistakes him for a reporter and throws his camera away. Brendan explains that he is just a tourist stopping to refuel. Hunter then shows him the body, but it turns out to be just a dead deer. At that moment, Charlie finds them. Hunter releases Brendan, and the two teenagers quickly run back to the car when they see Hunter holding a weapon. At the same time, in Alaska, scientists detect strange disturbances in the atmosphere. Soon after, the group of teenagers arrives at the lakeside house, while Rob and Kara have some private time inside, and the others go for a walk to enjoy the forest scenery. Brendan also sets up a motion sensor on a tree to avoid bears. The three continue walking around the forest and discover a house hidden within the woods. Annie convinces everyone to go inside, thinking it's abandoned. But the fresh animal skins hanging outside indicate that the house is not abandoned. Inside the house, they find many stuffed animals and a working Doppler radar. Under a dusty cloth, Annie discovers a military radio, but immediately starts coughing as the dust triggers her asthma. Luckily, she has an inhaler and quickly recovers. Next, Brendan finds some photos on the wall showing that the house belongs to Hunter, who was once a soldier and even worked as an astronaut. At this moment, Hunter drives back in his truck, causing the teenagers to rush and hide in another room. The back door was locked, so they carefully escaped through the window. Hunter entered the house and noticed that the dusty cloth had been moved. But when he checked other rooms, the teenagers had managed to leave in time. Hunter got back into his truck and tried to chase after them. However, Hunter discovered that the road was blocked by a tree, which allowed the trio to escape and avoid danger, although Charlie tripped on the way. When they returned to the house, they saw on the news that strange clouds were appearing all over the world and expanding rapidly. However, meteorologists couldn't understand what was happening. Brendan looked outside and noticed the clouds were showing signs of a storm in the area. The group went outside to investigate further, and Rob noticed that the truck's battery was dead. He guessed someone had left the headlights on, but everyone insisted it wasn't them. At the Blackbird military bunker, the FBF and the military were holding a meeting to discuss the Blue Book project, which used files containing images of extraterrestrials. The project had ended in 1969, but pilots continued to report similar experiences. A prisoner named Romanovich was brought in and asked to share his story, a story no one had believed before. They received a call informing them that the guests were approaching. Romanovich showed them the tattoos he received from his previous encounter, telling the soldiers that these guests could not be defeated. Back at the lakeside house, Rob concluded that their vehicle had been sabotaged because he found a tool stuck in the vehicle's frame, short-circuiting the battery. Charlie believed Hunter was the one who did it when he passed through the forest to set up traps in the evening. Annie asked Charlie about the photo on his phone, and he explained that it was a picture of his ex-girlfriend, who had passed away 10 months ago in a car accident. Charlie hadn't been able to get over the loss, so he acted awkwardly around other girls. At Hunter's house, he continued his preparations while listening to a conspiracy theorist on TV who claimed that the clouds were signaling the arrival of extraterrestrial life. However, another more rational person showed off the strange tattoos on his arm. At this moment, the interview was interrupted by an emergency report. A massive spaceship had just appeared in the sky. Hunter left the house to witness the spaceship emerging from the storm clouds and releasing pods onto Earth. Suddenly, a blinding explosion occurred, causing Hunter to experience convulsions in the shelter. Similarly, Romanovich suffered convulsions after the explosion stopped. Once the convulsions subsided, he said that the extraterrestrial beings knew he was there. At the lakeside house, Kara woke up and saw another pod land on Earth. When Rob checked on her, he found her standing motionless by the window, and when he touched her, she suddenly collapsed. Rob screamed, and the others rushed over as Kara woke up, seemingly normal. Meanwhile, Brendan was checking the camera footage from the motion sensor and noticed a strange shadow moving. He called his friends to show them, and when they looked closely, they realized it was Hunter. Angry, Rob decided to leave the house to find a gun in the car, unaware that Hunter was watching from the forest. The girls tried calling their parents, but had no signal. Brendan guessed that the storm had disrupted the communication stations. While Rob was returning, he accidentally stepped on a strange, slimy substance that stuck to his shoe. When he shined his flashlight down, he was horrified to see an alien creature hiding beneath the porch. He fired a shot before quickly running back inside. However, when recounting the incident to the group, Rob claimed the gun went off when he tripped on something. Later, Carr looked out of the window and saw a red light flickering through the trees, which triggered a memory. Before she could explain, the group saw the alien creature outside and they all ran to hide, while Hunter continued to watch quietly from a distance. The group then began discussing how to proceed. Rob became frustrated when Charlie started giving orders and insulting him, causing Charlie to angrily throw Rob onto the couch and prepare for a confrontation. At that moment, Kara began feeling ill and said they were all going to die. Soon after, the group heard glass breaking and ran to the kitchen, where they discovered a red alien creature hovering around before flying out the window. Hunter saw this and the group decided they needed to leave. Annie and Brendan went to the garage to grab a battery, while Charlie and Rob went inside to find Kara, but they only found that she had disappeared. The red alien creature was now hovering in the living room, moving closer to a humanoid alien similar to the one Brendan had seen. The group waited until the creatures left before daring to take action. When Rob felt someone standing behind him, he immediately fired. However, he didn't expect to shoot Kara. In a panic, Rob quickly picked up Kara and carried her to the garage with the others. He began performing CPR, but it was too late. Kara was dead. Rob cried uncontrollably, but quickly became cold and raised his gun, announcing that they needed a decoy. He tried to get the others to run into the woods as bait, but he was distracted by a flashing red light at the window. Charlie seized the opportunity to jump in and attack Rob, taking the gun back. The two rolled across the room, struggling fiercely. Charlie took a painful blow, but quickly retaliated, knocking Rob down. Afterward, Charlie, Brendan, and Annie left the house without noticing Rob had regained consciousness. The three rushed to the car and drove off, but just as they got closer, Rob blocked their way. Rob jumped out, but Charlie kept driving, and the car eventually rolled down a small hill. Fortunately, everyone was fine, but as they got out of the car, Rob advanced, preparing to shoot them. Just then, a spaceship appeared above them, and a beam of light from the ship pulled Rob up. Panicking, the remaining three began running through the forest, but had to stop when Annie needed her inhaler. As Annie caught her breath, she noticed something strange on a tree branch. The group approached and discovered a terrifying hand suddenly moving. In a panic, the three started running for their lives, while Hunter observed from a high tree. Charlie tripped, rolling down the slope and hitting his head on the ground. Annie quickly found Charlie and helped him move, taking him to a safe spot to treat his wound. Meanwhile, Brendan kept running, but unfortunately stepped into a bear trap, screaming in pain. Annie and Charlie heard the scream and hurried to find him. Charlie tried to open the trap but failed, while Annie rushed into Hunter's house to use the radio to call for help. An American soldier informed her that the rescue team would arrive in the canyon area. After hanging up, Annie noticed an alien creature hiding behind her and quickly ran away. Back with Charlie, he heard a noise and grabbed a branch to defend himself, but Hunter had snuck up behind him and easily disarmed him. Hunter then removed the bear trap and informed Brendan that his leg injury wasn't too serious. Just then, Annie returned and told them about the alien creature in the house. Hunter decided to move the teens to a different location, while he moved to the side to use his flashlight. Annie quietly told the boys that help was on the way. The light from the flashlight attracted the alien creature, causing it to trip over Hunter's rope and get caught in the trap. Hunter laughed, asking the creature if it remembered him before shooting it dead. Charlie realized that Hunter had used them as bait and charged at him, but Hunter easily stopped him with a light push. The teen group then followed Hunter back to his house, where he injected Brendan and gave him medicine. Afterward, Hunter told Brendan to bite a stick, then painfully set his bone before finally bandaging his leg, causing Brendan to pass out. Charlie talked to Hunter to keep him occupied, creating an opportunity for Annie to secretly grab his car keys. However, Hunter noticed this and explained that his car no longer worked. He offered to lend them his boat, but said they'd have to wait until morning to survive the journey, as sunlight disrupted the alien creature's metabolism, making them sluggish. Frustrated, Charlie thought they had no reason to listen to Hunter. But Hunter began telling his story from 1995. At that time, he was an astronaut on a space shuttle. performing checks before the launch. One moment, he closed his eyes, and when he woke up, he found himself in a desolate land 2,000 miles away, with no memory of the past 48 hours. As time passed, some memories returned, and he recalled strange lights, smells, and sensations. Romanovich had experienced the same thing, and both discovered strange tattoos on their bodies after the encounter. Hunter explained that this was how the alien creatures marked humans with potential for future upgrades, and they had conducted experiments over the past 60 years to prepare for tonight, when a large-scale abduction would take place. Charlie didn't believe what Hunter was saying, but Hunter demonstrated by moving objects with his mind. He had discovered this ability a few years ago after the memories returned, including memories that weren't his. His theory was that the alien creatures used a kind of neural implant filled with information, allowing them to understand everything about humans. In fact, humans had only evolved from single-celled organisms due to their intervention. These creatures had used humans for experimentation, just as humans use lab rats. Hunter had tried to warn authorities about tonight, but they thought he was crazy. So Hunter was determined to hunt the aliens himself for revenge. He then went outside to prepare more traps. Annie tried to comfort Charlie, who told the story of how his girlfriend had passed away. That night, while he was driving, he fell asleep at the wheel, causing an accident. When he woke up, he tried to rescue the girl from the car, but it was too late. The story was interrupted when Hunter returned, dragging the corpse of a dead alien. He entered another room and began to dissect the creature. Seeing an opportunity to escape, Annie and Charlie woke Brendan up. Suddenly, the house began to shake, and red lights appeared outside, causing Hunter immense pain. A screeching sound echoed throughout the house, hurting the group's ears. They were terrified when they saw a figure standing at the door, but it was Hunter who was preparing to check his traps. Soon after, the light turned blue, and Brendan had a seizure as a bright light filled the room. When Annie and Charlie could look back, Brendan had disappeared, and a hole appeared in the wall. At that moment, an alien creature entered, forcing Annie and Charlie to hide under the bed. The creature walked around searching, and Charlie discovered a loose plank. He broke it, helping both of them escape the house just before the creature lifted the mattress. Then, Hunter shot at his house until the creature ran away. He said he was happy and gave the group the key to the boat, telling them to leave without him. Annie and Charlie ran to the lake, but Charlie suddenly stopped when he realized the area was too exposed. Annie thought he was letting memories of his girlfriend stop him and believed he was a coward, so she decided to continue alone. She ran to the boat, and as she was about to start it, she had an asthma attack, and her condition worsened because she couldn't find the inhaler. Charlie overcame his fear and went back to help her, realizing that the inhaler had been forgotten in his bag from before. At that moment, they saw a light in the sky, initially thinking it was a helicopter, but it turned out to be a spaceship. A beam of blue light froze Annie and pulled her away, with Charlie clinging to her to be taken along. A while later, Charlie woke up in a strange lake. He broke the cloth on the wall and looked out, discovering hundreds of human-filled pools being monitored by flying red aliens. Then he tore through the fabric on the opposite wall and found a tunnel. He crawled through it to reach another area. While searching for Annie, he heard a voice calling his name and was shocked to find Brendan hanging on the wall. Brendan said the aliens had fixed him, as his leg no longer hurt, but when Charlie tore away the fabric covering Brendan's lower body, he discovered it had been replaced with machinery. Frightened, Charlie continued and found a room with a beating heart inside. Deeper inside, there was a room with 2 tanks, containing the bodies of Kara and Rob, both of whom had lost their lower bodies. Rob suddenly woke up and grabbed Charlie's hand, stopping him from leaving, but Charlie resisted his strength and forced Rob to release his grip by breaking the tubes connected to the tank. Hearing Annie call his name, Charlie continued searching and eventually found her lying in another tank. Her body was still intact, so Charlie picked her up to save her, but as he fell, strange wires were revealed, connecting to a strange shape on her back. When he disconnected them, Annie also fell unconscious. At that moment, the alien creatures discovered the broken tubes of Rob and started searching for him, calling Charlie's name in Rob's voice. Charlie found a knife and hid in the tank, waiting for the creature to approach. When the creature came closer, he jumped out and stabbed it, but the creature was unharmed. It grabbed Charlie's face and pushed him underwater. A while later, Charlie woke up to find himself connected to an alien machine as they began experimenting on him. Charlie had a vision of himself in the tank, and his deceased girlfriend appeared beside him. She told him to let her go so he could start over, and Charlie agreed. At the same time, the alien creatures drilled into his brain. When Charlie woke up again, he found himself lying in the forest in the morning. Realizing he was naked, he immediately noticed that his body now had tattoos similar to Hunter's. His clothes were neatly folded beside him. Nearby, Annie also woke up, her body also tattooed and her clothes prepared. But she no longer needed her asthma inhaler. Charlie and Annie quickly reunited, and neither of them remembered anything about what had happened the night before, but they kissed anyway. After that, they returned to the house where they saw Brendan and Rob recovering the car. In just a few seconds, Kara fully came back to life and joined them. Meanwhile, the US military reviewed footage of the spaceship recorded by their pilot during patrol. It seemed that the aliens were leaving, and Romanovich smiled, as he had known this would happen. News reports announced that 20,000 people had disappeared and then returned overnight. At Hunter's house, he admired the corpse of an alien, mounting it on the wall like another taxidermy trophy. As a result, the military decided to place them in quarantine. By the end of the day, the group of teens got into the car to head home, and Rob surprised everyone by accurately predicting the texts arriving on their phones. At that moment, they encountered a roadblock manned by soldiers and police who immediately recognized their tattoos and ordered them out of the car. The men discussed what to do, and Annie overheard them whispering about killing them. Suddenly, one soldier turned and quickly shot Rob and Kara dead. When he aimed at Brendan, he only hit his leg, while a policeman seized the chance to shoot Annie. In a fit of rage, Charlie activated his newfound powers and summoned the gun to his hand, opening fire on the soldiers blocking the road. At the same time, Hunter supported him from the trees above. Brendan also activated his new abilities and simply vanished. Charlie shot at the soldier approaching Annie, who was still alive, but a policeman grabbed him from behind, and Charlie threw him to the ground, breaking his neck. Afterward, Charlie and Hunter exchanged a nod before Hunter left. Brendan appeared nearby, and Annie and Charlie left with him through the forest. After they left, Kara's wounds healed automatically, and she woke up. Kara then touched Rob to heal him. In the forest, the trio noticed another storm approaching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching.